And we're live.
All right, welcome to another Thursday night of the Guitar Gear Locker. My name is Alex Books, and this is my co-host, Mr. Roger Sutherland. And this is actually live show number 30.
30
now. So
yeah. And we reached a little milestone today with subscribers. So please subscribe and follow us and like the podcast. We hit 270 today.
Yeah.
So we have a massive following, but we do have a loyal following.
Yeah.
And we have some cool, we don't have a guest tonight, but we have some cool topics. We're going to talk about, if you want to, we could just like briefly go over what we're going to talk about, like Floyd Rose's, your new guitar. We're going to talk about guitar repair prices and tolerances and some software, not software, but video software and virtual amps and things like that, amp sims. Our struggles and our progress with recording guitar. We'll take the risk of sounding like, well, I'm going to be an old man no matter what I do, but I'll definitely sound like an old guy trying to figure out a computer. Like, well, these young whippersnappers.
Yeah.
So I figure right up front we'll tell before the viewership drops off for people that tune in, and then we'll talk about the Surfcaster. We made a joke about it earlier, but I guess it's become quite popular. I'm pretty surprised. But what do you want to start with? Your new acquisition, your new guitar?
Yeah, we got a new member of the family. It's always it's Christmas every time you get a guitar, at least for guys.
Yeah. Right.
So, but yeah, got a new one in, and it's my second Horizon. Which this is actually, I have a Japanese ESP Horizon, but this one is actually the LTD, and it's a killer guitar. It's well, I'll show it for a second. But,
introduce us.
Yeah, so it's a ESP LTD Horizon, and it's a 87 series. So, look on the back, it says 87 series back there. So the 87 series are 1987 was the year that ESP really went into like having full-fledged production models.
Right.
So the 87 series started a few years back, which is basically the guitars that they put out. And so they reissued some of those models that they put out back in 1987. And this guitar in particularly,
Alex, hold it up just a little higher if you don't mind. It's getting caught behind your name. There you go.
Yeah. So it's a candy apple red. And I always like that color. I always thought it looked really sharp. And actually, the first time I think I saw a finish on a guitar like this was back in 1987, and I think it was from one of Roger's favorite bands, Whitesnake. It was
David Coverdale,
Adrian Vandenberg, and he was playing these for short spill, and I believe he had one just like this. And so yeah, it's a great guitar, and it's actually all the LTDs that I own are Korean. This one is Indonesia, and I'll tell you, it's a really well-made, solid guitar.
How would you compare it with the Korean?
That's it's apples and oranges, I guess. I mean, if you want to find something that wrong with it,
sure,
you find it. But I mean, so far, it seems pretty solid. It is. It's a solid guitar.
Yeah.
So the specs on this guitar is it's a alder body with a maple neck, and I'm sure how you say this, Madagascar ebony, Madagascar, right? So it's not normal. What's that?
Is that the fretboard?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's interesting because it's got some cool little.
Has nice figuring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And a little bit lighter than some of the because I have on some of my other LTDs that has the same Madagascar ebony, which is
Right.
I'd never even heard of it until some years back,
Uh-huh.
and never heard of many guitars using this wood. Obviously, I guess it's the wood you would use. It's probably the cheaper alternative to regular ebony. You
Right.
know, ebony
Right.
is expensive wood to use, but it's kind of similar, a similar type of sound to it, similar feel to
Uh-huh.
regular ebony. And yeah, so it's and it comes with, which most people that know me know I'm a Fishman guy, which I do have Fishmans already set aside for this that I got about a month or two ago. But it's actually, and I have to say, these pickups sound super good, like really good actually. So it's
Mhm.
a Seymour Duncan custom, and for the bridge, and for the neck, it's actually a Seymour Duncan Hotrail. So it's like a stacked humbucker, which you can
Right.
push, for it to become a single coil. Um, but and it's I guess that's like a Floyd Rose special. I guess I think that's what that is.
Is that a special?
I'm pretty sure it's a special or SE. Yeah, it seems. I mean, like I said, it's a great guitar. It's really even showing this on video really doesn't do the finish justice to see it in person. It's really stunning looking finish. The guitar feels the neck feels pretty much almost identical to my other Horizon that's behind me, which is the regular ESP Japanese version. Very similar, not much of a difference, with the neck. And yeah, so far so good.
So what are you planning on doing to it to get it road ready?
Well, I'm gonna put a Fishman Modern Fluence in for the humbucker, and I have a single coil Fishman, which will go in the neck,
Okay.
and you know the hum single is pretty much my favorite configuration, on the guitar, or a humbucker P90. It's good. It's good
Ooh.
too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's something about I think maybe having your guitar over here for a while and just kind of checking it out. That hum single has really grown on me.
yeah, I love it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that in between.
Cheech agrees that's a badass guitar. It is.
Yeah, and obviously it needs a FU tone brass block in there too.
Oh yeah.
And I'll be taking this out on the road very soon. We should have news. Well, we got two things in the works. We got one that'll be probably coming out later in the year, and we have some hopefully in the next day or so. You'll hear and you'll
Right.
see this guitar.
Yep.
Won't
How do
be enough.
you this is a dumb question, but how do you feel about this is probably the first time in a while you've been on stage with a non-black guitar,
Feels
right?
great. Yeah, I didn't want, you know, most of my guitars are black, and just yeah, I wanted something else. And like I said, I always like the finish. I like a lot of these crazy color finishes. Some of them are a little too much to take out on an immolation show, but I think I
Right.
can get away with the red.
Right, right. Well, that's right. Well, you have the kinda the army drab green also. I
Yeah,
forgot.
yeah. Oh, I like that. It's a military green.
Yeah, yeah.
Two of those, and
I forgot about that.
I really like the finish on those as well. I like white guitars. I like white, and yeah, I like all kinds of colors. It's just
Yeah.
you start playing death metal, you have to have a black guitar.
Well, I mean, except for now, it seems
Yeah,
red.
yeah,
But
yeah,
red, I mean, does red I mean, that passes the test too, right, for death metal?
yeah. No, you can get away with red. Plenty of red guitars out there.
You just can't do pink with black splatter.
Can't do pink with black splatter. You can get away with the
But
splatter. Maybe splatter will, you know.
you know what's funny? Well, first of all, it is Ola did it, so he's a metal guy. He's a
Yeah,
tugger, so
yeah,
it's one of his guitars. But it's funny because everybody that looks at that guitar, they're like, "Yeah, I don't know, a pink guitar, but the black really does it, makes it different."
yeah,
So for everybody watching, it's a Solar guitar, and what would you say, like almost hot pinkish, like 80s hot pink, but
yeah.
it has black splatter all over it, so it makes it look pretty cool. We've talked about it before, but yeah,
Pink
everybody says the same
colors are
thing.
back with a lot of, the crazy colors used to be an '80s thing, and
Yeah,
then now it seems to be, a thing, with a lot of players out there, a lot of crazy colors and,
yeah. I think it's gonna be cool seeing you up there with a red guitar.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and
yeah.
it looks, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of your other ESP with the hum single. I like
Mhm.
that configuration.
Yeah, no, it feels great,
Yeah.
really solid, and, like I said, it's got, you can tell, most people know when you got a quality guitars, you don't have to plug it in, and you can hear the resonance in the guitar, and yeah, this definitely has that, you know, but yeah, I can't wait to get it up and running,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So, and you said the pickups sound good with your rig?
Pickups sound fantastic. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a Seymour Duncan custom humbucker,
Right.
and it's a, hot rail in the neck, and both pickups and really like really hot, like really
Right.
loud. I
Right.
plugged it in last night, and I was like, wow, this thing sounds really good.
Yeah.
Real
Well,
punchy, and got a lot of
it's
clarity.
always good to have a new guitar day. I mean, I haven't had one in quite a while, and I've been threatened that if I have a new guitar day anytime soon, I'll die a tragic death.
Me buying a guitar, that's a little waste.
Right. Right, right. But, I told you, and so we've talked about School of Rock, so, I have somebody that comes in here from School of Rock, and well, actually, I have a lot of people from School of Rock here in Fredericksburg, and she is a fairly new she's not a new player, but fairly new, and she's playing in a band now,
Hmm.
and, we talked about this, she had a new bass day today, came by earlier, and we did a couple adjustments real quick and put some strat blocks on it. Really nice Ernie Ball bass.
Oh,
So, she fell in love, she was hooked, and, it's always cool to see somebody have, like, their kind of first real new guitar. So, she's dabbled to see what she likes,
hmm.
and, she's still trying to figure out where her comfort zone is, but it's kinda cool. It's kinda cool to be part of that, you know? So,
Yeah.
I'll have new guitar day, m trouble, you can't say people's names.
We had a couple. He had a couple. He had a new one. What, a couple months ago, right? You got that.
What's that? Oh, yeah, there's been quite a so there's I'll stay on the School of Rock students, have another one, he's coming by to pick his up tomorrow. So here's another cool one, it's another new guitar. Trouble, don't say his name, because I don't know if people want their names on here. Um, but here's the interesting part. So he comes in here with a new guitar, and it has lipstick pickups in it. These younger guys, it's really kinda cool to see them getting into, stuff that's out of the norm for today. Now, I mean, it's something to see, EMGs or Fishmans or, JB a 59. Those are all the time. But then one will come in, especially from a young guy with lipsticks. I even told his dad, I was like, "How old is he?" So,
Yeah,
stuff like that is really cool. I know it sounds kinda sappy, but it's kinda cool, like, these are the people that are kinda carrying on these traditions and keeping things going, you know?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And let's
I,
see, Trouble said he hasn't had a new guitar in a well, I mean, there's ways you can solve that, but you'll get restricted.
yeah,
Um, oh, he said his fault. Yeah, let's not give out names unless they I mean, they're probably gonna be cool with it, but, I don't wanna get somebody ticked off, but, yeah, it's cool to see, people have their like, it was a nice Ernie Ball bass too,
Great.
So, and I remember how I felt when I bought my first, like, all guitars are nice, but when you buy that one, it's really nice and really special. So, kind of cool to be part of that. Sounds a little sappy, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Yeah, and I've had some cool stuff in, man. I had that 12 string bass in too, which I thought was, this is a second one I've had in. This was last week, and I went through and you try to figure out things. Okay, so what's played on a 12 string besides Cheap Trick? And it was like Jeremy by Pearl Jam, which yeah, I'm okay with Pearl Jam. But I think after the 20th time I played, my wife was like, "Uncle, that's enough." But you know what? I was surprised how well that played for having so many strings on it. And the action was pretty low on it for a bass, and you can make, I think we may have talked a little bit about this last week, maybe not, but you could make some really interesting sounds with that and play some different embellishments that you can't really usually play on a bass. So that was kind
Mhm.
of cool. Yeah, trouble. Yeah, 12 strings. It was a lot of strings, but I like how they're organized. And I've seen them done. This one, I didn't realize D'Addario makes a 12 string set. And this customer brought in a set for a 12 string bass.
Mm.
The last one I did, it was and these were kind of different to get into the nerdy stuff. So this had you have your bass set of strings in there, and then a guitar set, and like for the low E, for instance, it had just a normal bass string, and then the same gauge guitar string. The last time I did one, the person that had that 12 string bass decided just to give it a little bit of a different tone, is that like the low E string. Maybe this is making sense. I'm trying to explain it the best I can. So two different gauge guitar strings and then a bass string. So, there are two octaves of E, but you kind of get a different sound with a thicker string and a thinner string. So kind of cool. That was a cool project that was in. So we have some other ones that are in the shoot. So we wanted to talk about some stuff. We peruse the news, the
Mm.
guitar news, not the real news. We stay in our guitar world. Uh, so the Floyd Rose, we talked about this a while ago, but they have the German line, of course, and the new USA line, or the USA model that's going to be made here. But also the Floyd Rose FR1000 is going to be available for the first time to direct to customers. So you'll just be able to buy one now. And this is going to show you how dumb I am. I didn't realize you couldn't. So I think it came on the guitars only, but now you can call and order those from Floyd Rose. Uh,
Mhm.
and they're, it seems like they're mostly, that's a more affordable brand, like we talked about. Remember the King Bolt that I got, that Reverend, that has a Floyd 1000 on it, and it's not bad. I will tell you one thing. I'm trying to remember if I didn't make I didn't make a picture of it. Yeah, in a second, after I say this, I'll search for it if you'll talk for a second. So, and I'm going to
Mhm.
try to describe this. So, the King Bolt Reverend came with a Floyd 1000 on it. And what
Mhm.
I found that I didn't like about that particular one, not sure if they all have this or not, is the tuner tensioning plate. And I'll Google it in a second and show you what I'm talking about. So the problem that I had with that, it worked great as long as I kept the stock block on it. But
Mm.
you know me, within 5 seconds, I'm upgrading the block on it,
Yeah.
and I actually put a titanium block on that one.
Mm.
The problem is the way that tuner tensioning plate is configured. I had a really hard time getting it flush with the block.
Yeah.
So, and I'll,
And there's something on the top too. It's like it slants or something, I think,
yeah,
where yeah.
let me, talk for a second, I'll Google it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the Floyd Rose that Roger's talking about, you know, and it's actually different than specials that I have on my LTDs. There's I don't know, there's something different about, I think it's like a slant or something, the way it sits too.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, I found it. I will share the screen now. Let's see. Share screen. I don't know why. I apologize for always talking out loud when I do this, but I feel like I have to. All right.
yeah.
You can see that, correct? All right. So this is what I was talking about. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what the normal tensioner looks like, but right in this area right here, if you can see where my pointer is, so the area right there isn't. This is jiggling over here to get me to add it to my cart. So this area right here isn't wide enough with the bolt hole configuration to fit over the top of one of the wider blocks. So I had a problem with these, the way that they're curved, because as we all know, on a regular Floyd Rose, it's kind of more of a gentle curve to those tuner tensioners. This one here is, I mean, that picture doesn't even do it justice. I wonder if there's another. Oh, here you go. There. Can you see that one?
Yeah.
That's, you know, your normal configuration there. And you can see it's kind of like a gentle bend on that. This one here is, that's pretty abrupt, man. So
Yeah.
that's what I had. And I think I griped about this a while ago. Not that I don't gripe about a lot of stuff, but yeah, I had a really hard time with that. So those, and I think that's on a Pro model. So I think Floyd 1000 Pro has that curved thing. So just a word to the wise, if you're getting those, you're thinking about putting a block on there, you will probably, and you can't use the regular tensioner plate because FU Tone sent me one because I thought it was something in the way that tensioner plate was, and just put a regular one on there. Regular one won't work because it goes too far back, and it actually hits into the body of its recessed Floyd. So yeah, so that's kind of the big thing now. You know, if you want to get a Floyd 1000, you can. So they now offer those direct to consumer.
You know
So
what?
we mentioned, I'm sorry.
I have to jump off for like 1 minute. So keep talking with the Floyd Rose. I'll be back in less than a minute.
Okay. All right. So yeah, and so Floyd's, you know, we had some problems when we did, and I like to do these so they're kind of searchable too for people like me that are looking for different problems. So we had a little bit of a problem. We've talked about the old German Floyd base plate that Alex had on his ESP Maverick a few weeks back. The problem that we had with that, and we ended up having to change out the base plate, was not necessarily the tuner tensioner, but when we went to swap out and put different or newer saddles on it, the saddles were too far back. And of course, being he tunes in C standard, so being tuned that low, you know, to get the intonation right, we were having to move the saddle way back, and it actually got to the point where it was up on the screw, the tensioner screw. So it wasn't allowing him to use his fine tuner. So that's another thing that we're finding with the Floyds. But so far, so good. So I was able to, you know, I installed you know, back to mine, the Floyd, when I put the titanium block on it, is I was able to go ahead and put a small plate in there, which, you know, not optimal, because you want to get as much of that stuff out and have the base plate of the Floyd directly mounted to the block. So usually that's stuff that you would discard or, you know, put in a bag, save for later. But I actually used that to create a little bit of space, and that kind of got me what I needed to get the new titanium block on it. And it sounds great. You know, it's kind of interesting. We talk about blocks a lot, and that one has a titanium. That's the first time I've installed a titanium on one of mine. And I was playing something last night, and then I've been playing a lot through earphones. We'll talk about that here later. been playing a lot through earphones, and I kept hearing something like as I was hitting on the strings when I took the, because of course you can't hear anything because it's all in headphones. So kept hearing something as we've been trying to do some recording software. So, but I kept hearing a little echoing, and I almost think that it was, the string in an unplugged kind of way, resonating through the block is where it sounded. I looked like an idiot, more than usual, hold my ear down to the guitar going like, where's that noise? It was like almost like a it was like the note vibrating, but back in the bridge. It was pretty interesting. Only on the lower strings, just an observation I made. Doesn't have much to do with anything. Again, just I don't know if that's a difference in the titanium versus the brass or what. But, again, that's the first titanium one that I messed with. So far, I like that a lot. A lot of sustain. That I did notice that whatever. Alex, next time we're together and I have that guitar with me, I'll show you. It's
Yeah, I'm curious.
yeah, it was interesting. It was a different sound, and I think that is kind of the intention behind the titanium blocks.
Mhm.
So it's kind of an offline running joke between you and I because we monitor the viewing of the channel and the show. And there for a while I was trying to mess around with shorts, and I'll do more of those eventually. But and we did some pretty interesting ones with Bob and the bass roundtable. But then I did a goofy one where we were talking about the guitar with the Gumby headstock. And you and I, about weekly, we look at it as like, you get so many views, and then we look at that. I did that, what, months ago? Months ago, that went out as a short. And consistently, that short gets the most views. So then I think it's haunting me at this point because I said it looked like Gumby. But then, lo and behold, this week, I was reading through stuff like I normally do, pops up in my feed, and this is the Jackson X Series Surfcaster SCHT6, and I will share the screen. They had basically an online kind of review of that. Let me hit a stop sharing the screen, and then I won't say every week this is too hard. This is too hard. Where is it? All right, Art Jackson. Just trust me, this is hard. So yeah, this is the Jackson X series here. Let me see if it'll go, and it won't if I switch screens.
The headstock.
Yeah, let me. I shared the wrong. This is the Jackson we were talking about. So they did. I have to pull up the other one. It doesn't do it justice unless you can see the headstock, I don't think. So they did an online review, or not online. They did a article and reviewed that guitar, and everybody seems to really like that guitar. The people that played it,
Mhm.
and
And this is a like a not a USA Jackson. This is like
no, it's not. Oh, I'll hit this one here. I just want to get it so we can.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it is not a. No, I mean, you could see it. I mean, it's pretty affordable, $549.
Mhm.
So sorry about all that. Trying to like get the logistical side of throwing things up here, but so this guitar, people really like it. High output pickups. They like the wood. They like the offset. Um, they never in the article. They never mentioned this. They never mentioned the headstock, whether people liked it or not. With
Yeah.
the exception, well, they didn't mention the looks of it. They
Mm.
said that it's heavy. Like there's a lot of neck dive with this guitar.
Mm. Oh, okay.
So that was kind of what they said in the review, just to kind of paraphrase the whole thing, if you will.
That's
But
bolt on too, right? Is that bolt on? Does that
yeah,
look like bolt on?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought I'd bring it up because I kind of made a big joke out of it. And it seems like this is a big hit.
So
Seems like
what,
people.
speaking of the headstock, and on a positive note, you as ugly as it is, it may add to the tone of the guitar. I don't know if you ever heard of the theory that the fatter the headstock, the better the tone on the guitar. Sometimes, like for instance, the '70s Fender Strats, where they have that fatter headstock, and I've heard guys say that adds to the tone. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Here's my thought. I think the only way that headstock, I can see the look on your face, some dumb Roger shit's gonna come out right now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the only way that headstock is gonna affect the tone of that guitar any is if it is painted green and Gumby's mouth starts singing notes.
Yeah,
That is the only way.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm definitely not a fan of that headstock.
I'm
It's
not either. I
no.
hear a lot of things. I you know me. I'm pretty big on the blocks, like I just said. I think they affect tone. I hear a lot of things. Billy Corgan says color affects tones. When people start asking me questions when they come in here, I always remind them I'm a firefighter. Like, I don't know. Does it go if it makes a tone better to you, then it makes the tone better. I don't know what does it. I usually you say it's the fingers, and I agree with that.
Mhm.
Um, but I also think it's the entire system, right?
It's a
So
combination of things, I think.
yeah, could be the headstock working with the nut. It would depend on the
I mean, I
Jeez.
can honestly say that most likely you'll never see me with one of those guitars, but, I don't know about you, but
I wouldn't rule it out with me. You never know with me. I have a pink guitar, remember. Easy cheese. I am just happy that somebody in the comments knows who we're talking about with Gumby.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You never know how those are gonna land. Yeah, put some googly eyes on it.
People, that know
Yeah,
who
so I would Jackson, I'm sorry. This is me. This is my way of saying, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make
I agree.
fun of your Gumby headstock."
Yeah.
It looks like it is probably a phenomenal guitar. You kinda can't beat the price. I mean, they said it's really good for $549. Um, yeah, so not bad there. So that was another thing that we had on our list of topics. Let's see, what do we have now? Alright, so we've talked a lot about oh boy. So we've talked a lot about, you put it on your social media. You have entered the new age of technology with guitars with an interface
Mhm.
and, software, and I did the same thing, and we're trying to stay common so we can exchange things. Uh,
Mhm.
so we talked, few weeks ago about the ProSonus. I got rid of that. Well, I haven't gotten rid of it. I just switched over to just stay common with you, so we can have like equipment.
Yeah.
So we've decided to try the Ableton because you all use Ableton with emulation.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I mean, for you, and the emulation side, you've tried to stay common with them. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have Pro Tools as well, but I'm
Right.
starting to make some headways with Ableton. I mean, it's not. I'm pretty sure it was originally meant for, I guess, like electronic.
EDM.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but there seems to be a lot that you can do with it. As far as like, I wouldn't record an album with it or anything like that, but um, there's it already comes with drums and MIDI, and the only thing that you would need is obviously either some kind of plug-in or something for your guitars. But I'm starting to make some progress. We'll see how after the show if I decide to dive in there. I know you're taking a break, from that.
Well, no, I did last night because I did get a little frustrated. I think that the interesting thing is like I mean, maybe people don't want to see what two people do when they're trying to experiment with new things. But I think the interesting thing will be to watch how, like, you understand the recording side. I don't at all. So it's going to be interesting for us to see how we both kind of maneuver through this, because this is a new world for me.
I mean, I think it's, you know, I come from the old school way of things, of just recording on a cassette player, recording your riffs, and or eventually I got a 4-track machine, and but this technology of a home studio or whatever on your computer with the software, I think is such an amazing tool.
Yeah.
Number one for writing, so
Right.
if you got ideas, um, putting the riffs together, and then you have tons of stuff there that's already at your fingertips, and then you could just go through the timeline that you have on there,
Yeah.
and you know and just layering guitars, coming up with ideas, whether it's bass parts or harmonies, or just crazy layers and
Right.
atmospheric stuff, and programming simple drum beats, just to so
Yeah.
especially when you're sending it to your other bandmates, or say if it's me and you going back
Yeah.
and forth with ideas,
Right.
you get a better understanding of somebody just sitting there going, hey, here's
Right.
this part, and
Yeah.
here's how the drums go,
Right.
and
Right.
so yeah, it's definitely. And then the other side too, especially if you're you know quote unquote professional musician or whatever, as far as recording records, through a wave file. I mean, most records these days, a lot of the guitars are reamped anyway, so
Right.
it's a direct signal that you have, and whoever's you know engineering the record or mixing and mastering the record, they
Right.
uh, will reamp everything anyway. Um, so you don't lose the performance.
Right.
Say you're in the studio, and I'm not. I still prefer. You know, I love mic to the cabinet. I mean, I'm
Right.
still all about that. But um, if the mic moves by a slight, that can change everything. Say, for instance, you got 9 songs in on the record, you got a 10-song album, and something moves this a little bit, that changes everything for the guitar sound.
Right. Right.
So when you do everything, say through Pro Tools or whatever recording software that you're using, and you have a direct signal that gets reamped anyway, because even you're still using the amps,
Yeah.
it's still the same signal coming out of your guitar and out of your pickup, but you already have the performance there, so you don't have to worry about a mic getting moved. And I'll use an example. So, you know, for the last couple of months, we've been in the process of recording my other band, Shadows, and we're recording with Jim Rowe, who's engineering the record. He's also played drums on the album. So we started doing guitars a little while back, and it's all mic'd. But if something, there's already a direct signal there anyway. There's 2 separate tracks, so he has that as well. So if something happens with the guitars or whatever, the performance is already there. He's got a direct signal, so he can reamp the guitars as well. Like,
Right.
even you brought up Ola from with Solar Guitars. Like, Ola
Yeah.
actually reamped the guitars for the Immolation Kingdom of Conspiracy record. He actually
Oh.
did, you know. Um, but yeah, so you already had the performance there, and with that direct signal. So say if you're doing a project with your buddies, and you all live in different parts of the world. Well, nowadays you can record everything and just send a WAV file of your tracks to whoever and to
Yeah.
the other guys, and they put it together and get somebody to mix and master the record, and voila.
Right.
Know,
Yeah. I
it's
think so.
amazing.
So far, and let me, before I go on my next thought, same topic, but when they done, Frank, thanks for the comment. Yeah, he's right. We talked about this when I brought it up originally. They were on the
Mhm.
old guitar bells, and this gentleman here, I got your message a couple weeks ago, and I've
Yes.
been waiting to ambush you when you come to my house.
Mhm.
So yeah, Mike DeCab, and he does some recording. I've been listening to his stuff here recently too,
Yeah.
and he has a guitar to bring in, and I'm gonna ambush him when he comes through the doors. So just
Yeah.
be prepared. I warned you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because I know he's doing all this, and I can pick his brain. I'm sure when he comes in, great guy. Yeah, all the software opens up to so many ideas,
yeah.
and I think that's so we the first jump for me, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, was going with the amp sims. So I got
Mhm.
um the one amp sim, I got the JCM, and then I got the EVH, and then they had the stupid deal of the day. They had Amplitude in there. I picked that up for like 29 bucks. So that has a lot of stuff in it. So
Mhm.
that was pretty straightforward. And I enjoyed that. I also enjoy like just running my Fractal through the interface because I understand that.
Mhm.
Um, but I think what I try to do, and this is just a me thing, like, and this is why when we talked last night, I was kind of frustrated with it, because I I have a hard time doing things in little chunks. Like, first of all, I think it should work the way I I, I just admit my faults here. I think it should work the way I think it should work, and it doesn't. And the other thing is I'm not a recorded musician, so all this is new to me, and you've helped me along with that and explain things to me. But I've watched videos, and there are things like I understand, like I can insert a drum in there, drum line, and I can I understand, and this is all new to me too, have one guitar line, panning left, one panning right. That's all like super interesting. And Cheech is right. It opens up new ideas. So, when I see all that, I'm like, wow, that's super interesting to me. Um, but it's not happening. I'm not learning it as fast. I'm also not as young as I used to be. I don't learn things as fast as I used to, but it's not coming to me as fast as I want. And like well, quite frankly, it pisses me off when I'm I try to put the next track in there, and you and I had the same problem. So you recorded one track, and then you tried to go in and riff over top of that track, and it's hard to riff over something you can't hear. So some of it is just us, and I'm sure it's like one little thing. Um, let me throw another one up here. I'm a fractal and I fight with it. Yes, you can do that. You've seen mine. Mine's pretty simple. Mine's the older one. Just something missing with the modeling to me. So I use it as an expensive. Yep, you can do that.
That's and the thing about the fractal too is if you understand, like you're like, say if you're doing something, you're recording something with Ableton or Pro Tools or whatever, and if you have the fractal and you already have like certain delays that you like
Yeah.
already dialed in, then it's just like, yeah, just throw that right in there
Well, and that's what I did when I was so when I first this was a couple weeks ago when I was using Reaper, I'd get a little frustrated, and you get frustrated, it's like, all right, let me take a break. So then just so you can get playing again, I was like, well, hell, let me just jump my Fractal into it. And I mean that I have somebody helped me download some presets in that. It's like, okay, Metallica, okay, Ozzy. I'm just hitting buttons, man. I'm not tweaking it. I told you, if I have to move too many buttons, I lose interest, and I just want to plug in and do stuff. So
mm,
yeah, so that's we'll keep it every once in a while. We'll update. I don't know if anybody cares. I just think it's maybe interesting to see, because I know there's other guys, because I'm looking for videos, and that's the other thing. Like so Ableton. So I jumped in on PreSonus in Studio One, and then we talked about Reaper. I jumped in on Reaper, um, and kind of understood those, but then Ableton does not, in my opinion, run like them.
mm,
So that was just a new thing. So it's almost like drinking from a fire hose. It's a lot of information. But the difference that I saw with you know, Pro Tools or Studio One or Reaper, is I could Google and a million bazillion videos come up. Ableton isn't like that. We both found that. Like there's not a lot of info out there, so you're trying to muddle through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's and I mentioned the did you want to talk about the amp sims? What are you
Yeah.
thinking so far?
I mean, I don't have too much experience with it, but the ones I'm using is ML Sound, I believe is the
Uh-huh.
company, and yeah, I mean, so I have like the EVH, their version of the EVH stuff, and yeah, it sounds damn good, and it's pretty easy to dial in, and I'm curious about some of the other amps that they have on there, but I don't have a lot of experience with all that, as far
Yeah.
as what's the best amp software out there, guitar,
Yeah.
sounds, and I know there's a lot of shit out there. I mean, it's just like all the records I've done, all those guys, you're sitting there playing, those guys are doing all the work and they know
Right.
what works, and oh, you're actually using this here and that, and that's what I got in here.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I mean, that seems to be working pretty damn well. That
Yeah.
was actually through your suggestion. You sent me that, and yeah, I checked it out, and yeah, it's been. I mean, even when I sit downstairs and rehearse now, I'm just rehearsing straight through the computer now instead of
Right.
amps.
Yeah,
So
and this is new to me also. I told you a lot of younger players that come in here talk about those, and it's just one of those things I was like, yeah, that's not one more thing I need in my life right now. But
yeah,
then when we started talking about exchanging ideas, then it almost becomes a necessity.
I think it
Um,
is. It is a necessity now. I think to
I,
know all this.
I can tell you one person that likes the amp sim so far is my wife. Because, usually my time for playing is like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening, and sometimes down even though our house, we soundproofed it pretty good down here in the basement,
Mhm.
but it gets pretty loud and, she's upstairs, doing what she does, and now I'm playing in a headphone, so I think she's like 2 thumbs up. But I don't mind it. You know what I don't like it, and maybe this is something down the road I may need to go to like a wireless headphone. I don't like screwing around with the cord. The cord
Mm,
always seems to be in the way.
yeah.
It's trapped behind the guitar, it's trapped in front of the guitar.
Mhm.
And some of that is just me. I'm goofy and clumsy, so it's always in my way somewhere. So that may
Yeah.
be something that I make a change on. So those are all of our technological updates
Mhm.
that we have done. So there's I mentioned this earlier. So we wanted to talk about really quickly, and I had it written down as expensive. Well, let me throw this up here, and then we'll get to the next topic. Amp sims are great to lay the first track for ideas, with just something missing. I think it's a fight with the amp that makes you adjust how you play.
Yeah.
I I agree, yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
So, and yeah, that's another topic we've talked about is maybe like bringing the amp into the interface. So, again, when you get here with your guitar, we gonna talk. Not you. So he hit me up. So the week we had to, and I felt bad because I had lost his comment because I had deleted the live show and it deleted his comment. But then he commented again. He has a guitar to bring in, and I sitting here the whole time going like, when he comes in, two of them, two of the new guitars. I gotcha. Hey, I'm here. Um, yeah, and again, you're forewarned. So if I hold you up with 50,000 questions, um, there's a couple other shops you might want to detour from me. No, just joking. He's a great guy, and I'm sure he's going to be a lot of help. And he's doing a lot of recording, and I've seen his songs are great.
Mhm.
He's laughing. All right, so we talked about. I had it written down, and we changed it after you and I talked. you know what? I've seen a lot of debate about expensive versus inexpensive. And now
Mhm.
we almost have to add a category because what is inexpensive? So you almost have to go like mid-range because
Mhm.
it used to be Epiphones and LTDs would be considered your inexpensive guitars, but man, they're jumping 12, $1,400 now.
More than
Uh,
that. Yeah.
yeah, 18. We talked about one a couple weeks ago, 1,800 bucks.
Mhm.
So you almost have to go. I had somebody tell me today they were looking at an ESP that was 28.
Mhm.
So we know where. Well, I did go in a Guitar Center last week, and I saw they were having a decent sale on Gibsons, where they had them down to 22, which is still just a tad bit of where, in my opinion, they should be. Uh,
Mhm.
so, but they're regular 28. So like, what is like, so what is the difference? I mean, is there a difference anymore? Now, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe there's a difference between an entry level, like, so the inexpensive or entry level guitars would now be what? A Squire.
Well, I mean, I think you can get um, a really high-end guitar nowadays, without spending $4,000. Like
Yeah.
you can get a great instrument, I'd say, like a really killer guitar for a grand.
Right.
And that I thought, I mean, back in our day, $1,000 was like a shitload of money,
Right.
But nowadays, I mean, obviously the way prices are, but I think you can get like a super high quality guitar for $1,000. I'm not sure your thoughts on that, and what defines, and also what defines what good is and
Right.
what's not. You know, um, they figured out a way to make great instruments for pretty, for I guess for less the cost than it used to be to make a really
Right.
quality guitar, and I think that is because of the Asian countries. They kind of
Mhm.
really figured it out, and so yeah, I mean, I guess it depends, like what somebody considers. I mean, $1,000 could be $10,000 to somebody else, like
Right.
depending on what's expensive to them. Like we talk about LTDs, we talk about Epiphone, you
Yeah.
know, um, and it's obvious that they make insane great guitars, that professional musicians are out there using those guitars,
Right.
using them to record albums,
Yeah.
So, you don't have to spend $4,000 or something like that,
Right.
to get a great guitar. I don't know if this answers your question, but
Well, it kind of does. And I
ties in
think,
there, I think, of what, it's like, okay, does it justify spending $5,000, or can you get basically the same guitar as far as playability, tone wise, that's built really, really well for 1,500? I'd rather spend 1,500 than 5 grand, right? Depends on what you're going for,
see, Evan, thanks for joining us.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And let me throw these. So I'm looking
But
at LTD.
I guess to go
Yeah,
back,
you're right.
you know, to go back to your point about inexpensive and expensive. I mean, a lot of people, especially in this day and age, don't have $500 even to spend for a
Yeah.
guitar.
Right.
So I guess it depends on the individual what's expensive and what's.
Yeah. Well, and we'll welcome Dwight Bailey. How you
Oh,
doing? Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Um, so I think I've told this on here. You know it. I think I and a lot of people have gotten the guitar thing incorrectly because you buy into it and you feed into it. You're like, well, if a $300, back then $300 guitar plays like this, then $1,000 has to play better, and 2,000 has to play better.
Mhm.
And I think you just get to a point at some point where, you know, you do see a little bit of difference in the, you know, the electronics. You know, the pots are a little bit different. And that's mostly the taper. Like, you know, on a pot, you'll notice the volume will go, like you move it a little bit and you're at 10 already. Like there's no taper to it. You notice that. You notice some difference in the metals. So I think you notice that. But what I hear a lot of people talking about, and this is, I guess, what changed my mind and my philosophy on it is like doing setups and knowing the importance of level frets and a good setup and
Mhm.
keep like that. That is really what keeps the guitars in tune, I think, because I have that solar. They're what, 900 to 1,000, something like that.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. It seems my computer's talking to me over there. Hold on a second. Remind me where I was.
Oh,
What?
hello, Roger.
I thought somebody broke in my house. I'm like, at first I thought my wife was out here. I was like that, and so I turned around. It's the on the side of my workbench. I have a Google Chromebook or whatever, and it was telling me to put my password in. It's talking. Whew. Okay. So I think so. The Solar, I think, is where I was. So that thing stays in tune great. You know,
Mhm.
that stays. The Reverend stays in tune. You know that Jackson Rhodes that I bought, that wasn't an expensive guitar. That stays in tune. You just, I think, you know, the emphasis needs to be put on good setups. You know, a
Mhm.
good set of strings and things like that. There are, let me, I'd like to stay on top of these before. Hey, good to meet you too. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for coming on.
And Necrotian's with us. You
Hey,
know,
there he is.
I miss getting that. So I didn't get the early message from him tonight because I fired this thing up way late. I was not on my game today. Adam Reaver said on the show that people turn their nose up at areas. Interesting you say that,
Mm.
because they were B brand knockoffs and they're actually better than the originals. Yes.
Like I've been
And
in the 70s.
yeah,
You know?
we talk about areas a lot. I have that Area Pro here. I've talked about it being for sale. The guys, eh, and it's in great shape from the 80s, original owner, $400 in its setting, and they're great guitars. And Adam did say that. He's a big fan of the Area Pros. Yeah, I just think that I got it all wrong. And you know, my collection, I mean, some of the stuff I've gotten deals on, and you know, some of it doesn't make sense. Most does, but the ones that I tell you what, I've been playing that Reverend and that Pink guitar a lot lately. And you know, I have some pretty damn nice guitars. I did pick
Mhm.
up the Sir tonight for the first time in a while, but I have more fun with those, and they stay when I pick them up, they're typically in tune. Which is going to bring us to our next topic here in a minute, because I'd like to get opinions on this next subject, but I want to blow some of these out. They're talking. Here we go. Think about $500.
I was a
Yes.
lot of money. Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure.
So not only that, I told this story today when I got back into playing as an adult, it was because my Les Paul knockoff from when I was a kid had a broken body on it. They said, you know, if you're gonna play guitar, get something different. So my wife, for not smoking for I think 10 or 20 years, I forget what it was. She said, "Hey, let's get that Epiphone Les Paul," and I was like, "I'm not making this up. $349 for a guitar? You're crazy." Anybody that's seen what I have now would know that that's ridiculous coming from me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was beyond my limits. But then, back then, I mean, for $500, you could get a super nice guitar, and
Mhm.
it was $999. And this hasn't been a long, long time ago. You're going to get a USA Strat with a hard case. And now, I mean, back to the Reverend, I got that. Um, Before it was on sale, before they discounted, it was $1,500, and you had to buy a case. So,
Mhm.
yeah, $500. Well, hell, when I was a kid, $500 was a hell of a lot of money. I'm old. He was a fan back in the day. I think we're talking about the areas.
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
Oh,
he had the same knockoff Area Pro 2 that I had. He had a V. I had an Explorer. That's the Recursion. So we
yeah,
were talking about that the other day.
yeah.
And
Oh,
great guitar to start off with. Like, you know,
yeah. Evan, if you're looking at an area that there's a really nice one here. It's what the something Knight, Black Knight, something like that. And it's in great shape. It's just that the guy's the original owner, and he said, "Hey, I want to pass it on. I enjoyed it a lot. Had it since I
mhm.
was a kid." So good guitar. But so that kind of like and I didn't intentionally say, "Hey, let's talk about different levels of guitars to get into repair," but man, there's some things that I've seen. Necrosia said his had a Floyd on it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
I've seen some things with repair prices that are, I'll just say, interesting. And I'm not going to name the big box, but man, I saw their prices that they're charging for things, and it is, I would say, concerning. I mean, it's not okay in the big scheme of things with the world. It for us, for guitar stuff. It
Yeah.
I guess my question is, like, when we're talking about, like, where are we? And this isn't for my business, because 'cause I'll tell you my opinion on it right now, or when we get to the end of this. So, what's the breaking point? So I remember our local guitar center here. Back in the day, if you were getting a guitar done, it was in the price. Anybody here in the Fredericksburg area knows this. He was a great guy. You go in one time, it'd be $35 and buy your strings. It might be $40 the next time. It might be $25. There was really no set price. Great guy that was doing it back then. Um, so but now I mean, everybody knows where I am. My prices are listed out there for an electric. It's 100 plus strings, and I ensure that the frets are level crowned and polished, and it's cleaned up and all that. But when I'm looking at these pricings, it's odd to me. So, we've talked about egg roll. I'm watching these out of the corner of my eye, trying to stay focused. Um, so I it's odd to me that we're gonna have a pricing structure that says, "Okay, so you come in," and it's a bait and switch, if you ask me. That's my opinion. So if you come in and you get a setup done on your guitar, it's this price. But if you want it cleaned, like, in there, they're gonna adjust your action, your truss rod, things like that. But if you want it cleaned, it's this price. Oh, and by the way, if you want, and that's the deluxe or the superior or whatever, you get it clean. And then if you want it waxed with carnauba wax, it's going to be this price. But then if you want the frets leveled, it's going to be a whole different price, and then a setup. And man, I'm telling you what, one of them was like 250. So at what point, like, I'm thinking of kids, like, when you have a kid that's starting up, you go out and you buy him a guitar, you don't know anything about it,
Mhm.
because you don't play guitar, but your kid wants to play guitar, and you're like, "Man, I just spend all this money on a guitar, that is already too expensive in my mind, and now
Mhm.
I need to go spend another
Couple
80,
bucks.
90, 100, 250."
Yeah.
Um, like, where everybody in the comments, like, what is the tolerance on a setup? I saw how much it was to I know what I just charged to wire an entire Strat, and it was half the price of what I just found out one of the big boxes is charging.
Mhm.
And I I know it's not like this isn't tariff related. And I'll talk about those prices. I put it on my social media, so I'll tell you some of the things that I've seen that this is labor. And maybe it is. Maybe I'm just too dumb to realize that. But some of it is, I think, maybe for a while the big boxes weren't charging enough. And, the different levels is I can't figure it out. I can't figure out why you would do a setup without making sure the frets are level, but that's for another discussion. I can't get through that door. Um, but I mean, at what point eh, at what point are we at the breaking point where it's too much? I can
Mhm.
tell you this before, like I know what's fair to me and what's fair to the customer. And I think I'm about right. I may be a little bit low, but I'm a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
I don't have the overhead that a lot of people do by choice. Um, but before I'm charging $250, I'll charge people 350 and I'll teach them how to do it themselves. And then I'll just fold up and just let people do their own.
Yeah.
Now some of the problem is, and I used this analogy earlier with somebody that was in here talking. It's like I know how to change oil in a car, but the price is at a point where I'm not climbing onto my car to change it. It's worth it for me to take it somewhere, let them just do it. I'm in and out. Hell, we have one out here on the road that's 5 minutes in and out. Don't even get out of your car. Um, but if it was a lot more, then I'd be climbing under my car again, changing my own oil.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing with repairs. Like I know what a set of nut files costs, like $50 for one set, and the tools are expensive. So I get some of that, the tools that you have to buy to do these setups, but you know what? I just think it's odd. Like when I saw that, I'm telling you what, I came back. You and I talked about it.
I, I
I
just,
was
yeah,
concerned.
I think it's absurd, and
Yeah,
I think, you know, not to say tariffs has anything to do with it, but I think if anything crazy like that's going on, as far as with the economy and all that, the especially big companies will take advantage of that,
yeah,
and that's what
yeah.
I think is happening with this.
I
Some of the
think
things.
that has to do like that's what I was getting at a little. Like a little of it has to do with a new CEO and maybe they've been underpriced a little bit. But having several tiers doesn't help you.
Mhm.
Several tiers of setups, I think it just confuses because if you tell me you can get a setup done, I don't know the difference between all these setups, then I'm just going to choose the cheapest one every time.
Yeah.
So some of it is I think he probably had to bring things more in line, but maybe went overboard just a little bit. Let me get to a couple comments.
And say a big company that does these things, there's always going to be somebody that's going to come out with a lower price to compete with them.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't want to take on their business anyway.
Well, and I know people troll my prices. I troll their prices, but some of that is I'm just trying to be somewhat competitive because I did get bitched out years ago when I first started for, doing super cheap. I was just trying to establish myself, but somebody up in Nova didn't like it. Nova's Northern Virginia. They didn't like it and I thought I was undercutting people. So I did raise to be a little more fair, but big boxes don't do what you want. It's what they think you want. Yeah, and I don't know that it's necessarily I've talked to the tech. He's a great guy in our local big box here. Really nice guy. And I think maybe I agree with you, but the part that I agree with is I think like the few times that I go in there, and I'm just usually in there to get something quick that I don't have. I can hear them talking to customers about repairs sometimes, and some of those young guys are just passing off some bullshit. Like I don't even know what they're talking about. So I don't know if it's necessarily the tech's fault. He seems to be pretty solid. But what now Evan said, hell with that local shop. That I got to tell you, man, if somebody's doing 25, then 25 goes towards whatever work you have done, average setup. That's a deep deal price right there. I don't know which area you're in, um,
Yeah.
but again, I like to qualify it. I know earlier I said 100, and I'm low, I think. My and again, I know you and I talk about a lot of this, so it's a repeat for you, but mine has I always ensure level frets. If they're not leveled, I level them. I don't like sharp fret ends, so I will have a smaller price if you're doing fret ends as part of a setup. But you know what? That more than likely $45, you're talking about, adjusting the truss rod, which is fine. Like not all. If a guitar comes in here and it doesn't need frets level, then I have a lower price. But it's usually in my head. I just usually deduct a percentage because I don't have to do a fret level on it. But yeah, $45 is actually pretty fair for, just bringing something in. I had that new one that was in here today. That's equivalent to probably what he's getting for the 45, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just an adjustment, and you can do them pretty quickly. Not a lot of labor included. It's just kind of dialing them in. Yeah, and he said plus strings. I missed that. Yeah, so 45 plus strings. That's what I was doing them for. When I said the guy up in Northern Virginia bitched me out, it's because I was doing 45 plus strings, and his exact words were, how do you expect somebody to bring you in a $5,000 or $7,000 guitar if you're doing $45 work? So I don't know what it matters if somebody's doing good work. Yeah, no, Croatian Floyd's cost more to set up. There is definitely they do, unless you're dumb.
That too, because they're a pain in the ass.
They so I'll qualify that. So they cost more to set up. There's an additional fee in almost every shop, but I'm gonna tell you, I almost 100% of the time forget to charge it. So that's why I said unless you're dumb. So, but you know what? Some of it, I just, you get to for me, if you're wrenching on guitars all the time, like the backside of it, the paperwork and the billing, my wife does all my billing, but I don't always communicate well with her, so I'm told, and I don't. Like, I don't always tell her everything I'm doing on the guitars, but that when you're doing that in the social media and all that, sometimes for me, like upcharging for a Floyd is just like one more step sometimes. So yeah, and they're tricky.
You became a Floyd Rose pro, because I think you told me it was originally you didn't want to do Floyds, right? And then your first customer was a Floyd Rose, right? Something like that.
It was. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a Floyd Rose pro, but I have out of necessity because I went away and I worked with a luthier, and he taught me how to do this. And when I walked out, my last words, he goes, like closing out the last day, what do you think? I was like, two things. I never ever want to work on a Floyd Rose, and I never want to do electronics. And the first guitar that came in was a Floyd Rose. It was a Rhodes with a Floyd Rose on it, and the second one needed pickups. So yeah, I learned very quickly. There's a lot of Floyds out there, and I didn't even like playing guitars with Floyds, and now I think, if I'm not mistaken, most of my guitars have Floyds on them now. So I didn't even like having them because I didn't know any better, and I just didn't think they stayed in tune.
I mean, a fixed bridge is way easier. It's but then when you're so used to playing, like for me, I like both, but I'm so used to playing with a Floyd Rose for almost 40 years, of guitars, and that I like the way it sits on my hand and my palm, and obviously tuning too, it's just, with the fine tuners, it's not that it's hard even with a fixed bridge too, as long as it's a good guitar that stays in tune
Yeah.
properly. But
Right.
obviously the fine tuners and just the way it sits, I think your
Yeah.
attack on the Floyd, it's got a different feel compared to like a Kaler or something.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Which, and hopefully in a couple weeks we're gonna have maybe some visits from Kaler, and we're gonna talk about one Kaler. I have it on the bench out here. We'll talk more about that in a couple weeks. Alex, what do you look for in a setup? I ask because you tour and guitars get beat up.
I mean, I gotta say that I am pretty anal about stuff, But with Roger, I think he could defend me and say that he would say I'm not, so much compared to other people.
No. I think
But
I think you are, but in a good way. You have to be.
yeah, I mean, I know what I want. I know how I want it to feel. Tuning stability, like I'm so crazy over tuning. That's like one of the things. Like that guitar's got to stay in tune, for me, or it just drives me
Yeah.
up the wall. But yeah, I mean, the tuning, the feel of the neck, and that can change. Like some guitars I may like the action a little higher. Some guitars I want a little bit lower. It just depends on how it feels to me in my hands, I guess. As far as that, if that's what you're, and obviously, since we're talking about Floyds, I block all my Floyds because I don't do all the whammy bar stuff, and that's another thing which would drive me crazy about Floyds is tuning stability. So say if you're tuned lower, compared, say if you're in E standard or something, okay, you can probably get away with it, but lower tuning, the Floyd will move around a lot, so I like it stable. Obviously it's easier changing strings and you don't have to worry about the Floyd, jumping all over the place. But I mean, there's certain things that I like. Obviously now I'm an FE tone guy, so I like to, put all brass blocks in my Floyds. And but for the main thing is just the tuning and just the way the action feels in my hands. It's got to feel right to me. And I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, and you like low action, but it's not too low.
Yeah, I mean, it depends too. It depends on, like I said, the feel of the guitar. Sometimes, like, say if Roger works on one of my guitars and he may have it down lower, and then I'm at home, and then I wind up playing it for a while, and then I'm like, you know what? Because especially when you play guitar, if you play it just for like 30 minutes, you got to really like play the guitar for a while to really find out what sits well with you. And so I may bring the action up, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Roger may do something for me and say, "How's that feel?" And I'll maybe bring it down sometimes. When I get home, I may play it for 2 hours and then say, "You know what? Let me try bringing it down a little bit." And but for me, it's just the tuning stability and you know, uh, and just the way it feels. As far as the action and all that. You know, Pretty simple, I guess. Um, yeah,
Yeah, well, and the intonation, I mean, it goes without saying with anybody, like, it
yeah,
has to be spot on.
yeah, yeah.
Like, when you are recording and when you're on stage, it has to be spot on.
Absolutely. Yeah, intonation. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, because that'll drive me up the wall.
Yeah.
Just hearing a little, and that's the thing. I can hardly hear as it is, but I know when something's out of tune or something doesn't sound right. And it just, if whether I'm in the studio or playing live, like I'll hear one of the other guys, like I can hear like just a little hair of something. I'll hear that it's off a little bit, and
Right.
I'll point it out. Even with me and Roger, like we'll be working on something. I'm like, it sounds a little, something's not right, and
That's usually my playing.
yeah. No. Shh.
Like, what's he doing now?
But yeah, like intonation, all that, the intonation, the guitar staying in tune properly. Um, yeah, that's the stuff that really means the most.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get back to a couple. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you talked about intonation.
nuts. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's back up just a little bit. The original Floyd Rose is his favorite.
Yeah,
And
I'm
better
right
quality.
there with you.
So, okay, so educate me here. Why?
Well, the original Floyd. Well, I have to say now, like since I got this guitar right here, this is, I believe, it's a Floyd Rose special, but it's different than the one that you're showing. I think it's
Yeah,
this.
that was a 1,000 that I showed.
Oh, okay. So this is a special. All right.
Yeah,
So, you know, I think compared to my, I have old USA Floyd. I have the German Floyds too, and um, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe just the feel, maybe the material is not as good as say the USA or the German ones,
yeah.
but I would say they stay in tune probably as good. You know, uh,
Well, the Croatian says better steel, and so it's probably when I say why, here's why. Here's why I say why. Because usually when you bring a Floyd Rose or one of my guitars, we change stuff up in it. So it's a Floyd Rose, and it may be a special, and it may be a 1,000, but like
and
mine
also,
have inserts and a titanium block and all that.
you know what though, and there's another thing about it, and it may affect even the tone of the guitar a little bit, because I have, which you've worked on this guitar. So I have two LTD Arrow 1000 Deluxes, they're called. So one of them, ESP, um, my rep was nice enough to do that for me because, I asked for a Japanese one and they didn't have them at the time. So he goes, but we got these LTD Deluxes 1000 series that are really good. And he's like, I'll tell you what, I'll throw I'll have them put the German Floyd on it for you.
Right.
And that guitar, it really stays in tune really well, and it's got a really like how do I explain it? Like the tone, like it's got a lot. I guess a lot more sustain and what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but it's definitely got a unique sound to it compared to my other LTDs that don't have the German Floyds on them. They have the special sort. I think they're made in Korea or something. Those Floyds, which are great, but that one there's something going on with that, and I'm wondering if it has something to do with the material
Right.
compared to the ones that they're using on specials.
Yeah.
So it may affect the tone too. Just like we talk about FU tone, we talk about brass and certain things like that that
Right.
add to the sustain of an instrument. And
Right.
um,
Right. And the Croatian, I'm going to back up. I haven't forgotten anybody that's back a little bit, but since German quality and German steel, better steel on the German ones.
mhm,
I'm a big guy on German engineering, so
mhm.
let me find this. The stabilizers. The Croatian mentioned this a while back. I saw it go by, but excuse me, sorry about that. So yeah, we you talked about the Trem-stop,
Mm,
and I think that I personally like those. I like putting those on when people have Floyds because they seem to be more no fuss, no muss for people. Like they don't have as many tuning issues. And
yep.
again, in my opinion, and maybe this is just because the way it is, maybe it's not opinion. You're once you put the trem stop in there, you can dive only. You can't go back on the
Yeah.
bar, but
Can't go back.
it then creates a defined point between the locking nut and your saddles because everything's locked down. So what I find also, if somebody says they're having a lot of problem with tuning, is if I do a trem stop and I just snug the springs up just a little bit more to keep that thing from floating on bends, then their tuning issues go away. And we do that with yours a little bit too. Of
I,
course, you're
I
using
would
some
agree.
heavy strings.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, once I started using the Trem-stops, uh, for the Floyds, I noticed just the guitar is way more stable as far as staying in tune. And even like I was saying earlier about changing your strings and things like that, you don't have to worry about that shit flying all over the place and adjusting the springs in the back or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and some people argue like, well, why do you use a Floyd if you're not using the bar? Well, like I was saying earlier, I like the feel of it, how it
Yeah.
sits on my hand, and also I like the option of having the fine tuners as well. So
Yeah.
because once you get those things dialed in, I mean, they're usually there.
Right. You are more like second nature with fine tuners. Like you immediately grab back there where I'm not as I'm still looking up here, even if it's a Floyd for some reason. But I noticed as soon as you get the guitar, you reach back there immediately.
Hmm.
And you're right, you can dial it in a lot better with those.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
that's what I personally like to put the trem stop on those, especially if we're doing a block and all that, because I just know the person's going to be on stage. They're not going to be tuning the entire time, and they won't
Yeah.
have to have a snark on their headstock. See from last week. So I personally like doing that. And you know what? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. I don't know if anybody follows Adam and FU Tone, but they recently changed their base plate. So their base plate is more universal now. The new
Hmm.
base plate that they have. So yeah, that's up there also.
Hmm.
The last one, and I ran into this issue with the actually the V that I got from you that you can't see, but it's right there. I when I went to put that base plate, it was too big for the route, so I had to. I think that one had a Floyd special on it, right?
No, that's just some
Or,
no name copy of a Floyd.
yeah, that thing worked great, but of course. So when I again, it's an unfair comparison because when I got done, it was literally a base plate. I put new everything on it
Yeah.
because I had it. I had another bridge. I was trying to put the FU bridge in there because I had an entire Floyd Rose to put or FU tone bridge to put in there, FU2, and it
Hmm.
wouldn't fit. So I just took all the parts off and used the base plate to fit in there. But they made changes to where their new base plate will fit in those routes. So you
Hmm.
won't have the same problem.
Yeah.
The corrosion said I kept that comment up there from a more control over the strings when playing when you have a Floyd Rose. I don't know. How do you mean?
Yeah. Um, More control. I guess maybe he means by tuning. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
probably what he
Yeah,
means.
maybe.
I was talking about.
Probably so. Yeah, that's a good point.
Mhm.
So, but I do have, we mentioned this earlier, like putting the strings in the Floyd. I've seen people do it backwards. I don't personally like that. You've joked with me about the way I do it. I just pull the Floyd out, do it right in front of me, and plop it back in. Pretty
Yeah.
damn easy. But I can tell you this: I'm kind of giddy when I see a hardtail come in because they are easier. So when one comes in, I'm like, "Shoo!" I have no knowledge on bars. If mine has what? It's a block, so it's nothing to move. Why? Yeah. Um. So I think we covered bridges. We had a couple other things. I'm going to cover one really fast with one comment. So we like to go over the news, like we said. Um. So one of the things that came up was the I don't know if you were thinking about doing this, but you can, and like we talked about earlier, I don't think this is on anymore, but you could have been Gene Simmons' roadie for a day for 12,000. You game?
Uh,
Anybody in the comments game?
Not me.
Let me tell you, that motherfucker doesn't have enough money in his bank account to get me to do that shit. I'll say it just like that. Nobody's gonna own my ass for that much money and be his roadie. Your ass in a bucket.
Somebody would pay though. There's got to be somebody.
Somebody would do it, but
Yeah.
I ain't the guy that needs it.
Yeah.
I'm not him.
Well,
I swear, man.
You him say, that I think was referring to his roadies like, oh, you should want to do this for free, work for him, like I seen him say something to that effect.
Yeah.
About
You know what? I shit. If my mouse would work, I could throw this. Oh, sorry about my French, but it wasn't French, it was English. And I don't. He said it was liability. I think he's full of shit.
Yeah.
I think he's that pompous that he thinks that somebody would pay that kind of money to hang out with his dumb ass for a day.
Yeah.
I ain't the guy. He could pay me $12,000 to hang out with him because at least I'd keep him entertained.
Yeah. I love Kiss, but since the 1970s, since I was a kid, I was a huge Kiss fan. But yeah, I don't think I'd have any interest in hanging out with Gene Simmons.
Yeah, I like
Kiss.
Kiss.
Could be a fantastic guy. I don't know.
You know what? I gotta tell you. So, and I don't dislike Gene Simmons. I think he's a great businessman. I think he can capitalize on anything he can. He would try to capitalize on it. I love it. He's an entrepreneur. The dude is filthy rich, self-made. I get it. But I don't need to hang out with him.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, he ain't me, I ain't him.
$12,000 to do it, So
he'd rather hang out with I don't know who that was.
I said
we'll wait
out with.
I would rather hang. Oh, he'd rather hang out with him for 12,000.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, so this with meet and greets.
Yeah. Sometimes these get out of comments. Oh, with you guys.
Well, I gotta defend the meet and greets, and I think me and Roger may have talked about it. I was talking with somebody about this, and I don't want to get into
right here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the ins and outs of touring these days, but it's very expensive to tour. So, bands started charging for meet and greets, in order to help cover certain costs. Because, being somebody that does this for a living, I know the struggles, especially after COVID, of how things have changed in touring and how expensive it is to tour. So the way I look at it, if you're going to charge somebody for a meet and greet to come in and hang out with the band for a couple of minutes or whatever, give them something special too. Like they should have like a cool package, you get a unique t-shirt or whatever and some other things, for the experience of paying that extra couple bucks.
Yeah.
Now $12,000.
Yeah.
That's, but yeah, there's a reason behind it. There's a lot of, let's face it, in the music industry, there's a lot of greedy sons of bitches and a lot of people that try to take, musicians, we're the last ones to make money,
Yeah.
And we've been getting screwed for years, but and they'll still keep trying to stick the knife on our back and suck every last penny they can out of us. But there's definitely reasons behind that. I know a lot of people say, why should I pay, why do I got to pay, to meet somebody to get an autograph or whatever? It's just like, if I sat there and I'm at the same show and if somebody sees me on the side of the street, I'm not going to say, hey, you got to go to the meet and greet. I'm going to talk to them and sign whatever the hell they want. And, I'm grateful, to those people, and I'm not going to be like, oh, you got to go to the meet and greet if you want to get an autograph or picture or whatever, but there's a reason behind that.
It comes back to expectations too, in my opinion. I think if I pay for a ticket to go watch a band play, then I go in and I see them play, my expectations have been met. If I see you somewhere and stop you and you're nice enough to sign something for me, again, expectations met. Now, if you're doing something like a special experience off to the side for a group of people that want that special experience, and they want to come in and they want to have a conversation with you, then that's a whole level of expectation that's not met by paying for a ticket to watch a concert, right?
Yeah.
So, like, just because somebody paid to watch a concert doesn't mean they get to go walk backstage and hang out.
I mean, I've been there is those packages too.
No. I mean, I'm just saying, like, bare bones. Just because I show up to a concert doesn't mean I can walk backstage and go, "What's up, Gene?"
I mean,
I can't, because I'd have to be his friggin' roadie.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, like if I saw Tony Iommi somewhere, who's one of my heroes, if I saw him, I mean, I've never been the guy like, to meet the band or, I never even got an autograph until a few years ago. I got KK Downing from Judas Priest autograph. I'd never even, and what do you say? Usually most of the time I've met anyone here's, thank you for the music. Been a big inspiration on me, whatever. And thank you. And, I don't know them. I don't, I met Michael Schenker a few years ago, and that was a big deal. And he was super cool. He kind of messed with me a little bit, and he was a funny guy. And what else do I got to say? All right, all right, thank you. I met my hero. I met Michael Schenker. But I've never been interested in all that kind of stuff. But there's people that, they're all about it. And there's people that are going to spend that money to meet Gene Simmons. Like. Believe it or not,
Well, no. Alex, there's a difference.
As crazy as I think it is,
they're not paying for a meet and greet. They're paying
to
be his roadie,
to
work for him. That's the asinine part. That's the part that rubs me wrong.
I think I said to you earlier where I saw an interview with him some years back where he was talking about the road crew, like, you should be honored to work for me. You shouldn't even want money to work for me, or something like that. He said, I was just like, wow, this guy's fucking out of his mind,
I ain't the guy. No.
And I got to tell you, just me as a musician, and Roger knows this, and I've told Roger this, that I never look at anybody, whether they are the crew or whatever they are, or if they're the janitor in the venue. I don't care. We're all in this together. Nobody's above anybody, And,
it takes everybody to make it happen.
Yeah, and so, and trust me, I got more respect for road crew guys and gals, than anybody. I mean, they fucking work their ass off. They're out there when you're fucking sleeping. They're out there working. They're up early doing stuff. They're there late, cleaning up, getting shit organized, dealing with bullshit, and my hat's off to them. They're just some of the most
and I think so. And I'll close this out for you because I know you're uncomfortable kind of talking about the meet and greets. And I know we said this a couple of weeks ago. Y'all have kind of struggled with it. I think it's a good idea. Fans want to come back and meet you guys and have that up close and personal time. I think it's good you all are offering it. Like, it's not for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but if it is, it's there for them. But again, that's totally, like, I don't even want to draw a parallel between you all and other bands doing meet and greets and some guy saying you can come carry my stuff for me and work backstage and pay me. That I don't even want to draw a parallel. I think it's good you all are doing that. I think it's going to be great for your fans.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if you decide, I know we've talked about it a couple of times, so I didn't know if y'all were. If you do it, I think it's a good idea. A lot of bands are doing it, and a lot of people love doing that. So let me catch up on. So Necrosh is such a nice. So I always wonder. It's like,
Oh,
he said he'd rather hang out with us. That's cool, and we'll send you. We pay him $5 to hang out with us every week, so we'll send the money. No,
yeah.
but that's pretty cool for you to say that, because I always said in here, and I say it to you sometimes, like, I don't know why somebody wants to watch some dumbass retired firefighter talk on a computer. But I do say occasionally I stumble on something funny that is usually only funny to me, but I just entertain myself in life. Oh, let's see. He said you can pay 11,000. Pass. No, I'd rather hang out with Whitesnake and Yngwie Malmsteen at the same time. KK is nice, hung backstage with him, and oh, that's cool. Yeah, all about the music. And man, I'm sorry, my mouse isn't working right. It keeps saying, I agree with it because you were stipend money. No one
Yeah.
buys records. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, your bread and butter is on the road and merchandising and yeah, I mean, record
Well,
sales.
and you know what? Back in the day, for anybody that grew up around the DC area or that knows about the Capitol Center, back when we were kids, we used to hang out in the tunnel and try to meet whoever it was at the Capitol Center. So, this is one of those things that if you have the extra money and you want to go hang with the band, there's that opportunity. You don't have to hang out in the tunnel and maybe catch a glimpse.
Yeah, well, it's just like people that buy a VIP ticket for better seating or whatever. You're paying that extra few bucks for that. I mean, you pay to go in to see the show, so.
Which I gotta tell you, not everybody's gonna agree with me, but I'm gonna tell you up front, I'm a little bougie sometimes. That is the way to see a concert. When I went, and thanks to a friend for taking me to these concerts, he scored some VIP tickets to Ghost and Breaking Benjamin and Disturbed and all of them. VIP at Jiffy Lube is the way. Like, you have your own bathroom area, your own little vendors.
I went to what was it? And I had VIP because it was Slayer actually, and Behemoth, her friends of ours, they got me and my wife in and gave us the VIP tickets.
Yeah.
I tell you, the seats are phenomenal.
Yeah, there's like a little area.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like a little area. And then I was like a fish out of water, man, because they walked up, they were like, hey, here's this thing. They put it in the middle of your table. It's like, if you need some refreshments or a drink, just push the little button. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's how to see a concert. I don't need to be out there audience surfing and getting up close.
Oh, yeah.
I like to sit back and relax and take it all in.
Tell that to my wife, or when I go to a concert with her, she's got to pull me up front, which and I'm just like, just hang up upstairs with all the old people, and
He is not lying. I witnessed it. As soon as he got on stage, she looked at me and he made me promise to keep her away from the stage. And she immediately said, let's go to the stage.
Yeah.
And it was dicey at times up there.
Yeah.
So, and both of our wives hung in there.
Yeah.
All right. So, Cheech, Black Label Society meet and greet. Used to be able to hang out on the tour bus. Wow. For 1 hour with the band before the show, get autographs, pictures, get a guitar sign, a backstage pass. 1,000, man, that's not hateful. That's not bad. So for all of that, huh?
Yeah.
And of course, I think he's laughing about our wives. Yeah, they hung in there. So, man, we've been an hour and 43. Just to let everybody know, like, we always shoot to have enough material to talk about for an hour, and then we start running our mouths.
Yeah.
But we did this 2 nights ago on the phone. We can do that on a daily basis. The funny thing is, we just went an hour and 44 minutes, and we generally do that on the phone.
Yeah.
So we don't run out of stuff to talk about either. Did you want to talk about that? We can save Epiphone for next week, right? If
Yeah,
we're going to buy gifts, and we'll save that because it's getting late for everybody. It's 11:14. Although it seems like more people join us as it gets later. But
yeah.
I'm running out of gas and voice. But you have anything else? Anybody have anything else? What do they
No,
say in meetings for the good of the order? Anybody have anything else?
well,
All
I
right.
guess, yeah, thanks for coming on tonight, guys. And as usual, and yeah, it's been a fun show. And just, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the
Yeah.
show. And yeah, we'll be back next Thursday. We may have a guest, we may not. We
Yeah.
shall see, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes we like having them. Sometimes we're okay not having them. We just like kind of
Oh,
BSing it.
great. Last week we had Spencer on from Full Hell, and
Oh, yeah. He was awesome.
like,
So
it's just the three of us bullshitting about nerdy stuff.
yeah.
Like
Well,
we
and
do.
it kind of gets to be, and I'll hit end here in it. So with everybody in the comments, it's almost like 10 of us are bullshit, which makes it kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we all have to find a meeting place one time.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Click and subscribe, and my mouse won't work to shut this thing down. We're
Oh,
never leaving.
here.
Good grief. Thank you. It is still, I think we're still going.
Yes, we are. Hello.
My mouse won't work. All right, I'm really going this time. See you later.